All right, good evening, everyone. Futures Brizio here. It is 7:20 p.m. on Tuesday, February 18th. Hope everybody had a great day, and just figured I'd drop in here tonight and do a quick live stream. And if nobody jumps on, then of course the video will be posted in the channel as always. So make sure you check it out. And as always, make sure you like the channel, subscribe, and leave any questions, comments. If you're watching this afterwards in the comment section, if you happen to jump on the live stream here, feel free to ask any questions, make comments, whatever, as we go here. So I did not make a video yesterday. It was a holiday in the U.S. It was President's Day. So the markets were open for the most part, but the volume was pretty low. So I didn't really trade. I think I took one small trade in Forex, but that was it. I didn't trade anything in futures. So I didn't make a video yesterday, but I figured I'd jump in tonight and review. I did have I did take a couple of trades today, one really good highlight. So we will just jump right in here. So we'll start off in futures because that's where we're sitting here. So this is natural gas. And I did take a really nice trade today. And I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it. I did close it already, although I think this will keep going. So if I get an entry tomorrow, I might consider jumping back in. So we have this nice uptrend's been going. And this morning, let me see here. So going into the overnight session last night, things were really kind of sideways and choppy. And this morning, though, there was an entry back to the upside that I took right here at the close of this big, strong candle right here. Now, technically, you could have gotten in right here or right here, but this happened while I was still sleeping. This is like, let's see, this is 6 o'clock on my broker's chart, which is 7 hours before. This is like 2 o'clock in the morning, and this is like 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's a little bit before I get up. So I didn't get those two entries, but I did get this one, and you can see where I got in at the close of this candle, and I exited up here right towards the end of the day. Market is pulling back, which is not surprising during the overnight session here. But this was a really nice trade. I mean, I picked up probably about 15% on my account. Now, I mean, you're not going to get trades like that every day, so don't get me wrong, but it was a really nice trade and gave my account a nice boost. But so, I mean, the entry was pretty clear. I mean, if we go to the higher time frames, you can see we've been making higher highs and higher lows. And so this where I got in actually was the entry on the 4-hour time frame, because according to our moving average strategy, and go back and watch that video I made on the 10-period simple moving average strategy the other day. I made that video talking about using it on a 30-minute time frame, but like I said, you can use it on pretty much any time frame. But on the 4-hour chart, this where I got in actually was a better entry than if I had gotten in just on the 4-hour chart, because you can see the candle was way up here. So I got in on shorter time frames, so you can drill down to the 30-minute, and based on the strategy, again, we're only looking for longs here, anywhere really from about this area here, which again, I was asleep during this time, so I did not take it then. Obviously, I would have done even better. I would have probably added another 3% or so to that win. But be that as it may, still was a nice trade. And looking out a little bit further, I do think, I don't see why this wouldn't continue. So as price corrects overnight tonight, I will be looking potentially, I never say for sure because you don't know, a re-entry on this tomorrow. But after such a big run-up like this is an unusual day. I mean, you don't usually see this move this much in one day. So I'm going to be patient because we could potentially see a bigger corrective move just because of how far it went today. It has a lot of potential imbalance to fill in. We've got, look on like a 4-hour chart. We have these two giant 4-hour candles here. So although I may continue to look for longs, I'm going to be a little bit selective on where, just because, again, we could easily see a substantial pullback on this just based on how far it went here today. So I'm not going to be in any rush to give any money back to the market. But, if the conditions are right, then we'll see. But I did want to highlight that one. And there's a simple trend following trade. You could or could not have used the moving average. Again, the moving average is just a tool to help you visualize, where a good place to get back in. And again, right in here was the ideal entry. This actually was the best entry, was right here. But again, this was at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not awake then. So clearly I wasn't taking that one. Then this one is a couple hours later, and again, I was still asleep. So I took the next best one when I woke up, and I saw this actually, as soon as I woke up, I happened to look over, jumped on the charts, and I saw this candle forming. I immediately jumped in, and worked out really well. It just, the price never looked back. So other than these two little pullback candles here, which was nothing. So all right, so that was the win on the day there. So, okay, so for moving on to cattle, I did not trade cattle today, although there technically was an entry today. Let's see where we're at right here. There was a little entry here today, but again, I didn't take it, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because you can see we had the entry, we had price pop above the moving average, but only a wick, and then it went down. It did not make a new low because we had this previous low from Friday. So price only came down, and then it pulled right back again. So I like to see on these, if you're going to use this moving average strategy, I like to see price actually trade above the moving average, not just one wick, but like actually see what we've got going now, where we've got price action moving above. Now, we did put in a higher low here, so you always have to be a little cautious of that, but that doesn't mean that we have a trend reversal, because a lot of times we put in higher lows. Like right here, we had this low, price came down, put in a higher low, another higher low, another higher low, another higher low, and then finally it broke down with a big candle. This was last week. So just because we put in this higher low right here, it certainly doesn't mean anything. But but I actually, from a price action standpoint, I actually like this, what it's doing now, or what it did today. Our market's closed now, better than just this wick. So I did not trade this because there was no price action above the moving average other than this one wick. So, basically, as long as we stay, we go back to the 4 hour, we look at market structure. We have this little zone right here, back to the 30. That's this area right here. So as long as we stay below here, even if we come up and retest this, I don't think it would come this far, but even if it did, as long as we stay, at or below this level, I'm still bearish this market. And I do think, as I talked about last week, that there's no reason for this to not keep going down, at least back to this area here, where we had this little pullback and a strong bullish move out, or this area in here more likely, okay? So there's a lot of room between here and here on the 4 hour chart. So I will look for shorts, and maybe we'll get it tomorrow. I'll be on the lookout when the market opens on this tomorrow. Okay. So on to the DAX. I did take one trade on the DAX today. This market has just been tearing to the upside. But of course, I take a trade on it today, and it doesn't go very far. You can see my entry and exit on the 30. And again, this was based on price pulling back and then getting a close back above the 10 period SMA. I jumped in on this candle right here. You can see my entry. And then I exited back here, and price really didn't do anything. It did go up a tiny little bit, but you can see it came right back towards where I exited. So I made a little money on it, but nothing terrific. So I'm hoping that maybe tomorrow we get a bigger move. But this market just continues to tear to the upside, and until we break some structure, which currently I would say sits right in here, then there's no reason to short this market. So that's the DAX. And then copper, I did not trade, but we'll look at it anyways. So as I mentioned last week, we have this area price had come into, and you can see it definitely reacted off of this previous structure area here on the 4 hour. okay, inside this rectangle, came right to the bottom, tagged this previous low, and now it's just sitting here. And it really did absolutely nothing today. It tried to pull out of this zone, and then it went sideways the rest of the day. So I didn't trade this. There was no trade here. And honestly, as long as price stays below this swing right here, which is basically our last little 4-hour zone, it's not really obvious here on the 4-hour. I guess I can zoom in. This little zone right here that led to this low, basically as long as it remains below, at or below where this rectangle is, then I'm still bearish this market. But, you know, this is very obvious when it comes into these major levels. You know you're going to get a reaction because everybody sees that level. People that are short are taking profit here. People that want to try to pick a bottom are going long here. People that maybe that were trying to go long previously over here maybe got stopped out, so that pushes it higher. And so then you have all this push and pull between the bears and the bulls at a key level, especially on a higher time frame. Excuse me, guys, I got to get a drink. So, you know, until this structure level breaks, either underneath this low, these lows, or we come up and take out this smaller structure level up above here, then I'm just going to stay away from this. I don't know what it's going to do. I mean, it may turn and shoot back up from here. I don't know. This obviously is a very major area of structure on the higher time frame, so it does mean something. But ultimately, what the market does, we'll have to just wait and see. I have told you guys that copper, after a big run up, can go into extended periods of consolidation. So we did have this big run up on the 4-hour chart that started back about 3 weeks ago. And so are we going to enter into a consolidation phase? I don't know. You can't tell that yet. Maybe we'll have a head and shoulders pattern for you classical technical traders, right? So we've got potentially a left shoulder, a head, and then if price comes up a little bit, I don't know if it'll come all the way up to here to make an equal right shoulder. It doesn't have to. But, you know, we have this neckline right here, potentially. But, I mean, head and shoulders patterns rarely look this clean. I mean, you could have this just come back to here and then collapse. It's still technically a head and shoulders pattern. It's just not obvious. So, I don't know, you know, what this will do. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some consolidation. So, we'll see what happens. But for now, I remain neutral on this until we get some better clarity of direction. All right, so that is it for futures. So really, it was a small trade in the DAX and a really nice big trade in NG, natural gas. All right, so on to Forex. So here's dollar yen daily chart. And again, let's go to the 4-hour. Again, we have this area down. We've been making, you know, clearly we've been making lower highs and lower lows. We had this really big pullback the last week or so. And then price kind of collapsed again. We're still sitting above these highs, these lows here. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But I do still think there's bearish momentum here on the 4-hour chart. Although we did take out minor structure levels, like, you know, we had these lower highs being put in here in the 30-minute. We came up and we took all those areas out. We took out this last one right here, and we came down. We failed to make a new low, and we pulled back again. However, you see on the pullback and then the resumption of this up move, we failed to make a new high. So when price came out of this higher low, tried to come up, you would expect to see if there's more bullish momentum for this high to be broken before the next pullback. But we didn't get that. We made a lower high and then a pullback. So again, we'll have to see what happens. You know, the order flow is certainly bearish on the higher time frames, even despite this really big rally here that we had last week. And like I said, these rallies, guys, these counter trend rallies are tradable on a shorter time frame. Like you could have traded this even though it was counter trend technically. If you're experienced and you can really go with the rhythm of the market, this was all tradable to the upside. You just have to keep perspective that on the higher time frame you're still bearish. So you just want to make sure as price comes up, and here's that rally that we saw on the 4-hour chart. You know, we had this very clearly corrective move. We had price rally up. We had a little pullback here and break of structure. And then when price took out this low, this is, you know, the best area to consider going back short again. Or even right here, because at this point we put in, again, a lower high, right? Lower high after this push up, knowing we have bearish order flow on the higher time frame. So you actually could have entered right here. You could have entered on the break of this structure right here, which would have been like in this area. Or if you really wanted to be conservative, you could have waited till this structure broke on this major rally up, which would have put you in up here. I mean, it's about halfway through this move down, but still it wouldn't have been too bad. So it just depends how aggressive you want to be on your entries. This actually is the best place to enter. This lower high, it's actually pretty low risk, right? Lower high gets put in versus this high. You could just go short here, put your stop just above here, and if this is just a pullback and it keeps going higher, fine, you'd get stopped out. Oh well. But at least if it does start going lower, you put in another lower high here, this would tell you that this thing's going way lower. So that would have been really nice. Okay, so if with that in mind, we go back to where we are now. Again, we put in a lower high. We had this rally up, took out structure 30 minute structure here. Pulled back, put in a higher low, and then rallied up. But again, we have put in a lower high again here, and now it looks like we're starting to form lower highs and lower lows again. So does that mean the downtrend's going to start up again? Possible. And again, on this chart, if we go out to a higher time frame, I think, again, I said this last week, I keep resetting my template so I lose my structure areas. This area down here, you know, becomes the target for this move down. So this is a daily chart. There's still quite a bit of room between where it is now and, you know, halfway in between. This box is still 265 pips from where it is now to here. And if you go down to the bottom of this box, back to these lows, it's probably well over 300 pips. So still plenty of room for this to go to the downside if it wants to. And, you know, based on this trading strategy, you really could enter anywhere in here from where it is now, especially with this lower high. So, all right, so on to the Swiss yen. Probably going to see very comparable things here. So again, here's our daily chart. The thing with the Swiss yen is that we're a lot closer to major structure level right here. We did come close, but then we pulled back off of it. So if we put a rectangle on this previous area right here, we pretty much came down to it. So again, it doesn't mean it's going to stop right here. It could blast right through here. Now, we still have bearish order flow with lower highs, lower lows. 4-hour chart, we are starting to turn down again. So I wouldn't be surprised in the least if and you go out to the weekly chart, this is obviously a very key area. So just for the fact that we're so close to major structure, if I was going to take a yen short, yen cross short, I don't know if it would be this one. If I did, I'd be pretty conservative with it because we've already kind of visited this area. Although we didn't technically break into it, we came very close. If we zoom in here, we have this candle on this previous low here. This came down. It actually technically didn't. Maybe it just touched it. If we adjust this. Yeah, I mean, it like just nipped it on this bearish candle and then it reacted. But again, you could just call this what we call a dead cat bounce, right? I mean, it put in a lower high, although it strongly reacted off this area. It did put in another lower high. So technically the downtrend is still intact here. All right. I mean, you can use a trend line if you want, but you don't need one. You can just tell looking at it. So theoretically, this is still down, but, you know, I'm a little bit more cautious of this area just because this obviously is a major area of support. Although since it's tested it and come back and failed to go higher, if this downtrend is going to continue, you're going to probably see it blast right through this area pretty easily because it's already tested it once. And if it comes down to here again, it probably will go right through it. So the bottom line is it's the same picture basically as the dollar yen, and the euro yen you'll see is pretty much the same way. Pound USD. So daily chart. Let me take this rectangle off just to clean up where we are now. So daily chart, we basically have bullish order flow now, although we are still below the last major structural high was up here. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this just continue to push higher, at least towards this zone. This was the last major pullback area before this low was put in. All of these in here are kind of like structure lows, which certainly could have entered short on the lower time frame. But if we go now to the 30-minute, I do think that these are all potential areas to go long on these pullbacks below the 10 SMA. Maybe not this time of day during the Asian session. But I would say, I would be looking to be bullish on this pair. Basically, I'm trying to find my little. I don't know where my little arrow went. Strange. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Crosshair, cursor, trend line. Weird. Well, anyways. Yeah, so I'm still looking at seeing, because this is MetaTrader 4. Duh. So, basically I'm still looking to have this basically come up and retest this area. So at least in the short term, still looking for longs on this. And again, we're still 130 to 170 pips from any type of real major resistance area. So I would consider to still be looking for longs until if and when we take out structure. And I don't know whether this current area here, we consider this structure on the 4-hour chart, right? It's kind of sideways consolidation. It's not a real good pullback area. So I would say as long as we remain above this area right here, I'm still bullish, probably at least up back to these previous highs up here. Okay. And that would go in line with dollar yen. If the dollar is what's driving the move down, a weak dollar on the dollar yen, then that would make sense that we'd see pound USD go up. Okay, and then lastly on euro yen, it's pretty much a carbon copy of the Swiss yen and dollar yen. Again, we have bearish order flow on the higher time frames. Okay, and we just continue to put in these pullbacks and new lows, and I don't see any reason to stop that. In fact, even though I don't like getting into Asian session, I'm going to enter a short on one of these tonight and just give it a little breathing room for any London open liquidity sweeps and just let these go. And euro yen is really, of the three, again, I probably still like dollar yen the most just because I think it's got more breathing room to the downside. Euro yen looks really nice, but again, we did come down and test this area here and had a pretty strong reaction. And went, but the fact that it came down here and bounced and again made it put in a lower high, again, can tell you that there was no real super duper buying here. There was a temporary bounce for a few days and the downtrend's going to resume. And then, we end up coming down here the next time, just blowing right through this area. So I don't know, but I limit my exposure. I'm not going to take a position on all three yen pairs because yes, if it goes for you, then you make 3 times as much. But if it happens to go against you, then you're going to lose 3 times as much. And there's just no need to expose yourself to that kind of risk. They're very correlated pairs, so just find the one that seems to have the most upside potential, or in this case, downside potential. for risk to reward, and just go with that one. And I think that's a smarter move than trying to play all three of them, because chances are they're all gonna, if it's in any way, shape, or form being driven by what the yen is doing, then it's not going to matter. They're all going to go down. Just pick the one, like I said, that has the best risk to reward ratio, which again in this case is going to be, in my opinion, is going to be it's going to be dollar yen, dollar yen. So, all right. So, So there you have it, guys. That's your market wrap and outlook for tomorrow. So again, continue weakness in yen pairs, short-term strength in pound USD. We'll see what happens with copper if we break through this zone. Still bearish on cattle, a potential setup for tomorrow. Natural gas, clearly bullish, but again, I'm going to let this one mature a little bit, because again, after such a big run up, I'm not going to be in a super hurry to get back into this, but because there probably will be a decent amount of profit taking, but we'll see. And for the DAX, we'll continue to play the pullbacks and longs. We like to see these deeper pullbacks underneath the moving average like we had today. Today just didn't go very far. So is that a warning sign? I don't know. We did make a new high. It wasn't really convincing, but we did go up and make a new high here late in the day. So we'll see what happens with that. But, of these right now, again, probably cattle could be setting up for a short. And we'll see what happens with NG and copper from where they're at now. So, all right, so I'll leave it there, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Questions, comments, leave them down below. Hope you have a great night, and we'll catch all of you again soon. All right, take care.